everybody. Just an intro on what I'm going to be going through for this episode number 6. Just want to explain a few of the things that we've done to the engine since I purchased it back in 2014, and why I've had to make some changes, and some performance stuff, videos, dyno, drag racing, just to give you some fresh content. Okay, so we'll start at the bottom, I suppose. The block, it's a TA Performance all aluminium block based on the Buick 455. This one has, or they all have, the 4-bolt mains, steel billet caps. I opted for the 3-inch main as opposed to the 3.25 standard Buick. I wanted to get some lower bearing speed, so I went with the 3-inch main, and also the 54mm cam tunnel in its original location. You could get the raised cam, but I opted not to. Also, it's standard deck at 10.75. You can also get the higher deck version, which I can't remember what that gives you capacity wise, I can't remember. But anyway, so we've got a Crow ultralight crank in there at 3-inch main, obviously. It's 4.36 inch stroke, and I started with aluminium rods. In the first rebuild, we got rid of those and put some, I can never remember the name of them, some steel rods, ultra rods I believe they're called, and went to a custom diamond piston to give us 13.5 to 1 compression. So yeah, it's up there, but it seems to work quite well. The cam is relatively small. It's only 650 thou lift at the valve. It's 270 degree duration at 50 thou. What else? It's a bullet roller cam. TA Performance obviously had to supply the core, and Bullet did a custom grind that Billy from BK Race Engines had specified. So then we go to the cylinder heads. They are again a TA Performance Stage 2 track eliminator. They're a relatively small cylinder head based on a stock casting. Buick did do a prototype Stage 2 casting. I believe it was in 69, maybe 70. And these heads are off the same molds, but these are aluminium. These flow 387 CFM at 650 thou lift at 28 inches vacuum on a 4.35 inch bore. So they'll probably flow a bit more now that we've got a 4.5 inch bore, but I haven't had them flowed since then. So we've got a custom made CFE sheet metal tunnel ring. It's a really nice piece. I've had a few different renditions of the top plate here. It came with a Dominator top plate, and as cool as Dominators are, I don't need to run Dominators, so I had to get a plate made for it to suit the 4150 style carburetor. Yes, we've got, I'm running ice ignition. I've got a Mazir water pump, electric water pump, and I've got these Billet APD 1000 CFM carburetors that went on the engine the last rebuild. So what I'll do is I'll go into a bit more as to why we had to rebuild it the second time. External oil pump, because what was happening is, because I got the cooler on the front, I've got a remote oil filter as well. Can't quite see it in there. We guess it was putting too much load on the oil pump, and it wore out the gear on the cam. Yes, I did have a a different gear on the Dizzy, and it was spec'd, but it still wiped both of them out. So I had to buy a new billet cam core, which, yeah, as you can imagine, there aren't too many of those around for this style of engine. So we thought, bugger it, we'll go to an external driven pump, and I'll tell you what, I love it. It's pretty awesome. So I've had to go to all the manual off the front as well, which is all custom made because you cannot get one for a big block Buick. So yeah. So another thing we did with the new APD carburetors, we were running Pro Systems E85 carburetors, and I was having a lot of dramas with the E85 because it's not a sealed fuel system, and I was getting a lot of moisture or water in the carburetor bowls, and it would turn to jelly. So we decided to get rid of the E85, although it made good power on it. These carburetors allow me to run MS109, and then just by changing the fuel in the tank and a few fine adjustments, it runs on pump gas 98. So, and it still makes good power on 98. It's 875 horsepower on 98 and 923 on MS109. So we just pulled, I think, about 6 degrees of timing out of it and run it on pump gas. It's only on the street. I don't get into it too much on the pump gas, so it's safe. So after the last rebuild, I took it to Sydney Dragway for a Full Throttle Friday event. I'd been warned previously for going too fast, but we went out there again anyway. And we're having dramas with the fuel slosh. So in the fuel bowl, if it's not quite high enough, what happens is all the fuel rushes to the back of the bowl and exposes the main jet. So yeah, it's a fine one getting that right. Pretty much on top of it now, but as you can see by this video here, it still stumbles off the line. It doesn't quite hook properly, like it should lift the fronts off the ground probably 6 to 8 inches. Now that I can tune the front down with the rear shock setup I got now. So yeah, I ran a 9.8 first up, and then as you can see in this video, it was a 9.9 at 139. And on the way back down the return road, they stopped me and said, "Mate, you know, you're not coming back, you're out, see you later." So that was a bit of a bugger. My 60 foot was down, like it was 1.45, I think it was, yeah, and yeah, it's way down. So there was plenty of room for improvement there. The motor makes enough power to get me well into the low 9s, but you know, there's no cage, no parachute. I'm quite content just to run the 8th mile tracks. I get to about 112, 113 mile an hour over the 8th. So just play it a bit safer, I guess. I want to go faster, but I don't want to turn this into a race car. So yeah. So we take the car over to New Zealand for Beach Hop 2019. It was something that just came up. It was a spare of the moment thing. Had some money that I could use to get the car over there. It was an expensive exercise, but one that I'll never forget, and one that I'm glad that we did. You know, the family, we all came over to New Zealand, or went to New Zealand, I should say. Had an awesome time at Beach Hop. That's one hell of an experience, and to have our own car there was pretty special indeed. So off the back of that, we're able to go to the Nostalgia Drags. Shirt, got the shirt, been there, done that. And yeah, we ran there, and of course I didn't want to take another spare set of wheels. I've got 2 sets of wheels, front and back, because I was running slicks and then the street tyres, but now I just run drag radials. I've still got the street tyres. So I got 2 sets of wheels, the same wheels, and I only wanted to take 1 set. I couldn't be asked taking another set over there and having to carry them around everywhere. So that's why I went to the drag radials. And I'll tell you what, I'm not going back to slicks. These drag radials, once you dial them in, they are magic. Very stable, a lot more stable in the top end than the slicks were. I run 20 pound in them. That's still getting it, dialed in. There's still a bit of improvement there, but get on a good track and get them hooking nice. And also went to the Viking shocks, the dual adjustable compression rebound adjustment coilovers, and yeah, they work a treat. So when I ran at Mary, which it's a good track, but it's not as good as Sydney, and as much as I have to admit that, there's a lot of races that will say that also. But when we went to Mary, so my previous best 60 foot was a 1:40, 1.45, I think it was, yeah. And so when we went to Mary, I did a 1.35 60 foot. So there's a 10th to the 60 foot straight off. And also my previous best 8th mile was 6.35. So I rattled off a 6.15 to the 8th at Mary. So I'll tell you what, I'm bloody keen to get on a good track here, because my goal this year is to do a 5 over the 8th. So yeah. So I spoke to the track officials at Mary and told them they knew how fast I'd been. They knew it was an easy 9-second car without a cage and parachute. So I spoke to them and they were really good about it. They knew we'd come a long way and made a rather large investment in getting the car there. So they were really good. I told them I will run it out the back door. Of course, you have to do it to be able to get kicked off the track. So they can't just do it on hearsay, I suppose. So I tried one of the last runs before I used up all the fuel that we had. I ran it pretty hard, and that's when I got the PB. And it was going through half track, and I'm thinking, yeah, this feels good. So I just kept in it, and then all of a sudden I got a violent shake in the steering wheel. So I got out of it, and I don't know, it must have been, I don't know, it was before the 1,000 foot. It was a way off, so I just coasted after that. And I mean, we still did a 10.5 at 100 mile an hour over the quarter. So I think it was trucking. It was going to be a good one, but yeah, when I had that shake in the steering wheel, I was just going, nah, I'm not having any of that. So I got out of it. Last thing I wanted my whole family to see, that we're all there watching us, is for them to see something go wrong. So I got out of it, played it safe, and yeah, but still, like I said, 10.5 at 100 mile an hour over the quarter. It was on for a good one. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's a bit different. It's not really showing you much, but yeah, I didn't get up to a hell of a lot over the weekend. Still painting the tank, getting that nice. So I thought this would be a good time just to run through the engine and show you video and pictures of performance figures. Not that they mean a great deal. There's only one real true performance figure, and that's a time slip from a quarter mile. But I've got a few of them, but I want to go faster, so it's only 8th mile from now on. So yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that one. Like it, share it, and subscribe. And I'll see you next episode. Have a good one.